Hey all, so today I want to introduce you to Simon Sinek. I find him very inspiring. He's a motivational speaker. He talks about organizational culture, leadership, and I generally find his content very entertaining. So I really encourage you to check out his work if you haven't already. So in this video, he talks about something that is very relevant to a lot of non-native speakers. I'm very excited to jump into this topic because everyone has been in this situation at least once. It's when you're in a meeting and there's a lot of people around you. The presenter doesn't make any sense, but you're afraid to ask a question because you just don't want to look stupid. Let's take a look at this video and see if Simon will help look at the situation from another perspective.
The reality is, I'm an idiot.
Okay, the reality is so the sounds like the, it's a short sound. Reality, so reality. So the reality is, and this T sounds like a D again. The reality is there is connection between reality and is, and the intonation goes up. So the reality is I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Again, lots of connection here. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. So it sounds exactly like this. I'm an idiot. You put more stress on E. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. The reality is I'm an idiot. So intonation goes up here, but then it goes down here, just like that. The reality is I'm an idiot. Okay?
And I'm not being flip about it.
Okay, and I'm not being flip about it. And I'm not, so this end, we cancel D, there is no D. This is N. Okay, and you connect here, and I'm not being, connection again, and I'm not being, so and I'm not, so and I'm not sounds like and I'm not being, and I'm not being flip about it. Flip about it. So flip about it. Again, this T sounds like a D. There's connection. Oops. Flip about it. Sounds exactly like this. Flip about it. Flip about it. And I'm not being flip about it. Okay, what does it mean to be flip about something? So to be flip about something means if you flip about something, you're not serious about it. I'm being flip about it. I don't take this seriously. However, when you say the opposite, I'm not being flip about it, it means I'm serious about it. I don't take it lightly. I'm quite serious. I'm not being flip about it.
I don't understand very complicated things.
Okay, I don't understand very complicated things. I don't understand very complicated things. So I don't, there is no T, T's cancel. I don't understand, so there's linking here. I don't understand, and here you put more stress on the second part. Understand, and also these two sounds are different. So the first sound is under. The second sound is stand. Understand. understand. What happens if you use a sound for both? Understand, understand, understand. Doesn't sound right. Understand, understand, understand. What if you use a for the both of them? Understand, understand, understand. A little bit, very little difference, but if we check on the, let's say we take a name Alex, which is a, and use a, Alex, 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 Arthurs, 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 Arthurs. Okay, it actually makes a huge difference. So, understand, understand. More stress on the second part. Understand. I don't understand very complicated things. Very. Stress goes like this. Very. So it's not very. Very. Very complicated things. Complicated things. Complicated means difficult. Complicated things. And so I ask. Okay, nice linking here. And so I ask. And so I ask a lot of questions. A lot of questions. I don't understand very complicated things. And so I ask. By the way, there is no D, and it sounds like, so it's only EN. And so, connection here as well. And so I ask a lot of questions. A lot of questions so that the person, again, linking here, so that the person, so that the person who's telling me, who's this is Z, oops, okay, who's telling me something complicated, who's talking in terms as if I understand them. Okay, who's talking in terms as if I understand them. Okay, so what does it mean, who's talking in terms as if I understand them? So to talk in terms as if someone's understand them means that they're using the jargon that they assume everyone in the room understands it. Okay, and based on Simon's response, he said that no, I don't understand it, but the person talks to me in terms as if I understand them. Okay, it's a great phrase to use at your work as well. For example, you can say something like, let me explain it in terms that you're familiar with.
Finance or neuroscience, I don't know what you're talking about.
Finance or neuroscience. Or sounds like finance or neuroscience, finance or neuroscience, finance or neuroscience. Okay.
Right. And I ask enough questions just so that I understand it. So is what you're saying this? No, that's not what I'm saying. Well, what are you? So, yeah. I'll give you a perfect example.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Again, there is no T here. I don't know. I don't know sounds like I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. What you're talking about. What you're talking about. So, what you're talking about. And this year sounds like year. So the whole thing here sounds like this. What you're talking about. Talking about. What you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, right? And I ask, and I ask enough questions, just so there is no T, just so that I understand, just so that I understand it, just so that I understand it, just so that I understand it, just so that I, this is the again, just so that I understand it, understand it, understand it. Enough questions, just so that I understand it. Is what you're saying this? Is what you're saying this? There is a lot of connection going here. Is, so this is Z, is what you're saying is, oh, is what you're saying this? Is what you're saying this? Da 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 da. Is what you're saying this? Okay, try to, is what you're saying this? Yeah. Is what you're saying this? And connection here as well. Is what you're saying this? Is what you're saying this? Is what you're saying this? Okay. And then he moves on and he says, let me give you, I'll give you a perfect example. Where is it? I'll give you, so connection here, give you a perfect, stress on the first part, perfect example, a perfect example.
So a long time ago, I had a client. They were a public company, and they brought me on to do some work for them. But they invited me to sit in on a meeting.
Okay, so a long time ago. So a long time ago. I had a client. I had a client, connection here. I had a client. They were a public company. Public company. They were a public company, and connection here. They brought me on to do some work for them. Okay, so brought me on. What does it mean? To bring on means to hire somebody. So they hired me. So they brought me on to do some work for them. Again, lots of linking. Okay, to do some work for them. To do some work for them. But then they invited me to sit in on the meeting. They invited me to sit in on the meeting. They invited me to sit, again, it's not to sit, but to sit in. We'll put more stress on the second syllable, on the preposition. Sit in. They invited me to sit in on a meeting. Again, lots of connection here. To sit in here as well. Sit in on the meeting. Sit in. So it goes down, and on the meeting it goes up again. To sit in on the meeting.
They brought me on to do some work for them, but they invited me to sit in on a meeting from the consultant that they had hired.
Okay, so from the consultant that they had hired. from, okay, this is quick. It's not from, it's from the consultant that they had hired, from the consultant that they had hired, they had hired. Okay, from the stress here. Here is the stress. From the consultant that they had hired. So pay attention to this. So this is the same sound, consultant, but you don't say consultant, you say consultant. So you can practice it. It's the same sound, consultant, but you can practice with putting your stress in the right syllable. Consultant. So it sounds a bit different just because you put more stress on it. But in general, that's exactly the same sound. Consultant. Okay, from the consultant that they had hired.
And so all the C-level executives and me, and this consultant was giving a presentation about something or other.
This is junior marketing.
This is when I had my little
And so all, again, no D, and so all these C-level, here's connection to, and so all these C-level executives. Who are the C-level executive? It's your chief executive officer, CEO, chief marketing officer, CMO, CFO, chief financial executive. So all of these guys, your big bosses. So he was sitting in the room with all of these very important people, all the C-level executive and me. So and me, no D here, and we connect, and me, and this again, no D here, and this consultant, was giving a presentation, again, this is short, was giving a presentation, presentation about, connection here, presentation about something, and something wrong. Okay, and then the interviewer interrupts him. Okay, and then let's take a look. This is when I had my little marketing company. Okay, this is when I had my little marketing company. This is when I, more stress on I, this is when I had my little marketing company.
And all the C-level executives sitting there, and this consultant was giving a presentation about something or other.
This is junior marketing.
This is when I had my little marketing company. And all the C-level.
Okay, this one I had my little marketing company. He speaks a lot faster than I do. Okay.
Level executives sitting there nodding and taking notes on the PowerPoint that they had printed up in front of them, and I had it as well, and I didn't understand a frickin' word of it.
Yeah.
Right? I was like.
This is when I had my little marketing company, and every no D, and every no second E, and every all the C-level executives sitting there, nodding. Nodding is basically, yes, we understand, and then we nod. Yes, they nodded. They understand. They nodded. Okay, they're nodding and taking notes, and taking notes. Connection. Sitting there nodding and taking notes. Sitting there nodding and taking notes. Anna. on the, again, on the PowerPoint, 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 on the PowerPoint that they connection here that they had printed up, printed up, printed up in front of them, in front of them, no F, in front of them. Okay, let's try this part first. This one, I had my little marketing company, and all the C-level executives sitting there nodding and taking notes on the PowerPoint that they had printed up in front of them. And I had it as well. And I, again, connection here, and I had it as well. And I didn't, so no T, and I didn't understand a freaking word of it. By freaking, he means a single word, but he's so frustrated. It's a way to show that you're frustrated. So, a freaking. I didn't understand a freaking word of it. I didn't understand a single word of it. Word of it. Again, more connection. Word of it. Okay. It's not O, it's Word of it. So it sounds like this. Word of it. Not word of it. Word of it. Word of it. Like one word. Word of it. Right? I was like looking around. I was like looking, very short, look. I was like looking around. I was like looking around.
Looking around like,
Yeah.
and so I'd raise my hand and say, I'm really, really sorry. I know I'm the only person in this room without an MBA, but this doesn't.
So, and I think what he says here, it's a perfect phrase that you can use at your work as well. I'm really, really sorry. You don't need to say that you're the only person in this room without an MBA, because you're probably working with a lot of people without an MBA. Usually people with MBA, they go for that C-level jobs. So yeah, don't say that if it's not true. It will sound a bit weird, but I know I'm the only person in this room without an MBA. I know I'm the only person in this room without an MBA. Okay? I'm really, really sorry. I know I'm the only person in this room without an MBA, but it doesn't make any sense. So I'd raise my hand and say, I'm really, really sorry. I know I'm the only person in this room without an MBA, but this doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. Like, you say A plus B equals C, but based on your logic, A plus B equals D. Can you just say it again?
Okay, this doesn't make any sense. It's the same as I don't understand. It's a little bit more polite, especially when you explaining a topic and then you say, does this make sense? So instead of asking people, do you understand, or are you stupid, you're saying, does this subject make sense? So you're not personal. And I would say you're more professional by using and saying, does this make sense? Okay. And then, like you say, A plus B equals C, but based on your logic, A plus B equals D. Can you just say it again, please? Can you just say it? Say it again, please. can you just say it again, please? Okay, the intonation goes up and then it goes down on please. Can you just say it again, please? Can you just say it again, please? Okay, let's try the whole thing again.
This doesn't make sense. Like, you say A plus B equals C, but based on your logic, A plus B equals D. Can you just say it again, please?
Okay, does this make sense? Like, you say A plus B equals C, but based on your logic, A plus B equals D. Can you just say it again, please? He's really fast here. Can you just say it again, please? Can you just say it again, please?
I'm really sorry to slow the meeting down, everybody.
If I were you, I would definitely use this phrase when I'm in a meeting. I'm really, really sorry to slow the meeting down, everybody, because you acknowledge that you're slowing down the meeting, but you're also preparing everyone else that, well, guys, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have lots of questions because I need to ask them.
You know, and you could see the consultant getting frustrated with me and would try and explain it again. I said, I'm so sorry. And one by one, all the C-level executives said, yeah, I don't understand it either. Now, if the idiot hadn't spoken up and said, I don't understand, they all would have nodded their heads for fear of looking stupid because they don't understand. And they would have paid a lot of money for a document they didn't understand.
And you could see the consultant getting frustrated with me. And you could see, very short, could see the consultant, and you could see the consultant getting frustrated with me, getting frustrated. So the consultant started to get angry, like, how many questions are you gonna ask? We have this meeting supposed to be 30 minutes and we running out of time. You cannot ask that many questions because I'm a busy person. So yeah, this is what it means by getting frustrated with me. And would try and explain it again, and would again short, and would try and explain it again. So connection here, this is a D. Explain it again. And I said, I'm so sorry. And one by one, so one by one means each of the C-level executive. So first one said, I don't understand, and the second person said, well, I don't understand it either. And then one by one, all of them acknowledge, confirm that, well, you know what? Nobody gets this. Okay, so thanks for asking this question, or questions. Okay, one by one, and linking here, one by one, all the C-level executives said, yeah, I don't understand it either. I don't, so no T here, connection, I don't understand it either. I don't understand it either.
If the idiot hadn't spoken up and said, I don't understand, they all would have nodded their heads for fear of looking stupid because they don't understand. And they would have paid a lot of money for a document they didn't understand, and they would never have used it and would have sat on a shelf.
This is a perfect example of third conditional. Now, if the idiot hadn't spoken up, if I hadn't spoken up, they would have paid a lot of money. They would have nodded their heads. Okay. Now, if the idiot hadn't spoken up, and said, I don't understand, they all would have no H, would have nodded their heads for fear of looking stupid, because they don't understand. No T, don't understand. And they would have paid a lot of money. Okay. Paid a lot of money paid a lot of money for a document they didn't understand. Same thing, they didn't understand. And they would never have used it. And they would never have used it. And they would never have used it. So would is short, would never have, so no H, only have used it, would never have used it, and they would never have used it, and they would never have used it. It would have sat on a shelf, so downward intonation. It would have sat on a shelf, sat on a shelf, sat on a shelf. Would have, no H, again, would have sat on a shelf for a document they didn't understand, and they would never have used it. It would have sat on a shelf. Okay, let's move on.
And it's because I'm okay being the idiot. Like, that's why I'm not being flip. I'm okay everybody in the room going, oh, because I have to ask questions until I understand it. But the reality is once I can get to the point where I understand it, I can...
Okay, let's break this down. And it's, again, no D, and it's because I'm okay. I'm okay being the idiot. I'm okay being the idiot. Like, that's what I'm not being flipped. We know what flipped is, yeah? So I'm serious about it. Why I'm not being flipped. That's why I'm not being flipped. Being flipped. I'm okay. Everybody, I'm okay. Everybody in the room going, ugh, lots of emphasis here. Everybody in the room going, ugh, because I have to ask questions. I have to ask. There is W between to and ask. To ask questions. Until I understand it. But the reality is
once I can get to the point where I understand it, I can get it so simple that I understand it, and I can say it in simple terms. That means other people understand it too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of value being the idiot.
Okay, so again, the reality is this is a nominal. This is something we discussed in the last lesson. So the reality is, your life is, the reality is, and the reality is basically all these words before means other people understand it too. So here, the reality is all this text. Okay, so what is the reality? The reality is once I can get to the point where I understand it, understand it, understand it, understand it. I can get it, get it so simple that I understand it, and I can say it in simple terms. That means other people understand it too. So the reality is I can get it to the point where I understand it. I can get it so simple that I understand it, and I can say it in simple terms, not in terms as if I understand them, but actually say it in simple terms that everyone understands. Means other people understand it too. So let's try the whole thing quicker. The reality is once I can get to the point where I understand it, I can get it so simple that I understand it, and I can say it in simple terms that means other people understand it too. Okay? So there's a lot of value being the idiot. Okay, perfect finish. There is a lot of value. So we have a lot of, okay? There's a lot of, so this sounds like that. This sounds like there's a lot of. There is a lot of sounds like there's a lot of. There's a lot of value being the idiot. Okay. And that's it with the breakdown. Well done, guys. So I think a couple of points here is that don't be afraid to ask questions. And the reason is because if you don't understand something, chances are other people don't understand it too. And by asking questions, you're not only helping yourself to understand this subject better, but also you're helping others, and they will trust you more. It's when the person asks questions, it's just a sign of intelligence. So I hope you find this video useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and then I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.